Hello and welcome to Healthy Bites. My name is Dr. Ron Ehrlich. Now this week's podcast with Maria Hunt explores getting the gut ecology, called body ecology, getting the gut into balance. And she's got some great tips there, and I'd really recommend if you haven't listened to it, you should. Because the gut is not only the place where so much of our immune system resides, but it also affects our mood. And in fact, our gut is a great reflection of our health. So we do talk in the episode about that topic which I visited before and I will visit again, and that is, what does your poo say about you? You see, our body tells us things each and every day. We don't need to go off and get expensive lab tests if we're willing to. I mean, that's useful. I'm not saying it's not. But I'm just saying that our body sends us messages each and every day. And when we sit on the toilet, there is a message that we should be, yes, looking at and thinking about. Now, she references the Bristol stool chart. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the image is right here to my side. But it talks about 7 types of stools. And the type 1 to 7 are outlined from severe constipation, mild constipation. Type 3 and 4 are normal, which is, as Maria so eloquently put, a sausage that launches, floats and sinks. A sausage shape with cracks in the surface like a smooth, soft sausage or snake. That is normal. And if you are constipated, and you should be at least having 1 bowel movement a day, possibly 2 or 3, but 1 or 2 a day is ideal. And while some people may read that 3 or 4 bowel movements a week is normal, that may well be true. It may be what the majority of the population are experiencing, but that does not mean it's optimal. And it's optimal health that we're striving for. So we go from type 1 and 2, which is separate hard lumps and lumpy, it's dry and you're only going a few times a week. And then the other side, the other end of the scale on type 5, 6 and 7 is mild and severe diarrhea. And that tells you something as well. So, it may be foods that you're just not suited to. I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but I love chili. I could have chili on absolutely everything, but I don't. I sometimes do, but generally speaking, I don't, because I know what effect it has on me, and it's there for me to see the day after I have chili. So, stools are an excellent way of listening to your body and responding to it, not just watching it. Look, mood and food is another aspect, and we shouldn't ignore that, how certain foods make you feel. And that's something to explore as well. And skin is another great indicator of food and your reaction to it. I've heard it said that 80% of skin conditions are a reflection of our digestion. And recently I heard a podcast from my partner in the surgery, Dr. Ron Ehrlich, on his podcast Mouthing Off, with gastroenterologist Dr. Ron Ehrlich, who will be a guest on my podcast in the coming weeks. And Pran was asked, is the gut the second brain? And Pran answered, no, I don't. I think it's more nuanced than that. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, here's a gastroenterologist. What could he possibly be saying? And he went on to say that the gut is the first brain, because when you look back at evolutionary history, even before we had brains, we had guts, and the gut informed how we lived. So I would argue that the gut is actually the first brain. And I think that's why the focus in this week's episode has been on the gut, with Maria Hunt, Body Ecology. I would strongly recommend it. And we also talked about what does your poo say about you. But I wanted to just highlight that point and reinforce it, and hope this finds you well. Until next time, this is Dr. Ron Ehrlich. Be well. This podcast provides general information and discussion about medicine, health and related subjects. For
content is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice or as a substitute for care by a qualified medical practitioner. If you or any other person has a medical concern, he or she should consult with an appropriately qualified medical practitioner. Guests who speak in this podcast express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions.